Hey everybody, I'm here today to talk to you about exhaust versus intake. And I will be specifically talking to you about what I would get if I could only choose one. So I am in my 2009 Honda Civic Si Coupe, and I actually don't have an exhaust or an intake installed on this car. So I'm going to try and give you a somewhat objective opinion or a somewhat objective point of view on this matter. Since I don't have either of the two modifications done to my car, I'm going to sort of give you my true opinion on what I would get if I could only have one. So let's get right to it. In terms of similarities, both an exhaust and an intake allow the engine to breathe better. Now, an intake allows the engine to breathe in much better, and an exhaust allows the engine to breathe out much better. Both exhausts and intakes also allow the engine to experience some power gains. Now, the specific power gains depend on a wide variety of factors, things like the type of engine that you have and even other modifications that you have done to the engine and the components of the car. All of those factors determine, and the actual type of exhaust and intake, all of those factors determine the amount of power that the engine will gain. But, you know, in terms of speaking generally, both intakes and exhausts offer very similar power gains. And also, with that being said, both an intake and an exhaust improve the overall look of the car. An exhaust improves the look of the back end of the car, and an intake improves the look of the engine bay of the car. Generally speaking, exhausts and intakes are both very similar in price with regards to the actual cost of the product and the cost of the installation of the product. Now, yes, there are many exhausts that are more expensive than intakes, but there are also many intakes that are more expensive than exhausts. But when speaking about the products generally, the prices are very, very similar. The main difference for me and the deciding factor for me is the simple fact that an intake allows the car to sound louder at wide open throttle, but when you are not, really pushing the gas pedal, the car isn't much louder at all. On the other hand, an exhaust causes the car to be much louder all the time. Whether you are wide open throttle or just sort of feathering the gas, an exhaust will generally cause the car to sound much louder all the time. And that is why, for me, in my opinion, if I could only have one, I would choose an intake, because all of the first factors, all of the beginning factors that I spoke about throughout the beginning of the video were basically similar factors between the two modifications, intake and exhaust. But the final factor, the deciding factor for me, is the simple fact that an exhaust causes the car to be louder all the time, and an intake causes the car to be louder when you are really pushing the gas to the floor at wide open throttle. And if you are not pushing the gas, or if you are going a bit lighter on the gas, then the car generally isn't noticeably louder. And if it is louder, it's just extremely slight. So basically, an intake allows you to decide when your car will be louder, and an exhaust causes your car to be louder all the time. So for me, that is the deciding factor, and that is why if I could only choose one with regards to intake or exhaust, I would choose to modify my car with an intake. And that's basically it. In this video, I have spoken to you about the main similarities and the main difference between an intake and an exhaust. And I have told you if I could only choose one, that I would choose an intake. And that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching.